Now, let me tell you a little bit about Gwen. Dr. Britton has more than 30 years in private industry and academia within the science, technology, engineering, and math space. She has worked in varying positions, spanning a gamut of content areas, including software engineering, systems administration, network administration, data analysis, database administration and design, web development, engineering, cyber defense, mathematics, and computer science. Her expertise is around strategy, leadership, and business STEM education and administration. So she has a wealth of knowledge. In her current role, Dr. Britton is passionate about expanding and growing both credit-bearing and not credit-bearing learning opportunities and access for individuals. So without further ado, Gwen, please take it away.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Judy. Hi, everybody. As Judy said, I am Gwen Britton, the Vice President of Product Strategy, which is part of SNU's new Office of Product and Program Innovation here at SNHU. Tonight, I'm going to be talking a little bit about micro-credential stacking, stacking credit, etc., and how to build equitable pathways to skills, competencies, credentials, and jobs. So, are you ready? Here we go. I'm really looking forward to introducing you to a world where individuals are educated and trained for in-demand skills and hired for what they can actually do. I'm going to be introducing you to the notion of open and equitable pathways and how pathways can be built, shared, and discovered, and what that could mean potentially in the land of cybersecurity. So let's first start with the definition of what do we mean by equitable pathways. There's really three key characteristics to equitable pathways. One is they have to have an on-ramp. And what do I mean by an on-ramp? An on-ramp is a way for somebody who may not have had an opportunity before to get into something, to get a course or work-based training or something like that to get them started. The second aspect of an equitable pathway is that they're completely transparent, which means that it shows you all the different possible ways that you can make progress in that pathway, along with whatever the requirements are that you need to complete in order to get through each segment of that pathway. And then the last part about an equitable pathway is that it has to have some sort of a valuable destination when somebody finishes, such as a credential, a degree, a badge, something that can actually show those skills and competencies that you've acquired along the journey. So that's really what an equitable pathway is, and that's what I'm really going to be focusing on tonight. Okay, next. So there's a couple of, there's a whole ton of different ways to discover what different kinds of equitable pathways are out there. The key is really knowing where to look, and I'm going to show you a couple different ones. And then I'm going to share a story of somebody named Sandra. And it's going to show you an example of what an equitable pathway could look like for somebody. So there's lots, like I said, there's lots of opportunities out there. The key is finding them. So the two organizations that I'm going to share with you tonight, one of them is CyberSeek. And CyberSeek is a website that was put together by 3 different project partners. They were people from Burning Glass Technologies. And what Burning Glass does is they really provide job market analytics that help employers and workers and educators make all kinds of different data-driven decisions. The second is the Computing Technology Industry Association. When I use those words to describe it, people are like, what are you talking about? But it's CompTIA. And many of you have probably heard of CompTIA. They have all kinds of different certification exams, like the A+, the Networks Plus, the Security Plus, there's a whole gamut of them. And then the last organization that helped design the CyberSeek website is called the National Initiative for Cybersecurity, or NICE, N-I-C-E for short. And that was actually led by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST for short, which is really a partnership between government, academia, and the private sector that has a focus on cybersecurity education, training, and workforce development. That's the NICE framework. So those are the organizations that really help put together CyberSeek. The second organization that I want to share with you is an organization called Credential Finder. And what it really is it's a tool for exploring all kinds of information published to something called a credential registry. A lot of times people call it the credential engine. And what that Credential Finder does is helps you find all kinds of different credentials, different assessments, learning opportunities, pathways, transfer values, and all kinds of different things offered by different organizations. I'm going to show you a few examples of each, and then I'm going to walk through Sandra's story so you can get a really good feel for what an open, equitable pathway could look like. All right, let's first start with CyberSeek. CyberSeek has two tools that are available on the website, and this is a screen capture of what the two tools are. At first, I wasn't sure if I would be able to link in here and go to the website, so I did a bunch of screen captures. So I'll walk through the screen captures first, and the website does actually work, so I can click on it from my presentation. So this will show you the two pieces of this website. On the left shows you a screen capture of the interactive map, and on the right, it actually really shows you the career pathway tool. So I'll do a deep dive first into what the interactive map looks like. So it shows you, well, let me see if I can just click on this here, and then I will take you to the CyberSeek website, and I think you can see it. Hopefully you can. I'm guessing you can, and if you can't, somebody take yourself off mute, Judy, and say, Gwen, we can't see it. But if I don't.
I was just going to tell you it came through loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
So here we're looking at the CyberSeek website, and what's cool is you can see all of these different interactive clickable states. I want to click on the state of New Hampshire because that's where I would normally click on the state of confusion, but it's not on here. But I'm sorry, it's late at night. I can't help myself. All right, so click on New Hampshire. And when I click on New Hampshire, what it tells me down on the bottom is it shows me the number of cybersecurity jobs that are currently open in the state of New Hampshire. Where is this data coming from, you wonder? So remember how I said that Burning Glass Technologies, which is the one that does data and labor insights, they actually go through and they have like a machine, not a machine, I'll just call it a crawler, that crawls and looks at all of the different job postings across the United States, and it mines that data so it can actually plug into here. And it will show you the number of people in the state that are currently employed in cybersecurity. So there's about 3,000 and about 1,075 jobs in the state of New Hampshire. It kind of shows you what the geographic concentration is. It gives you examples of different cybersecurity job titles. I'm looking at my screen over here, which is where I've got the picture. So if I'm looking over here, it's not because I don't love you, it's because my screen is over there. And then down on the bottom, it shows you some of the certifications that people hold and different positions that are looking for those certifications. So I can see that a CIPP is a certification that people hold and not too high in demand, but check this out, you know, the CompTIA Security Plus, it looks like a lot of people have that certificate, and it seems to be a relatively high demand for it. Even higher in terms of what employers are looking for is that CISSP. So it kind of gives you an idea of the types of jobs that are out there and the skills that those employers are looking for. All right, so I'm gonna go to the next slide. Let me see if I can hit click, there we go. And this is what the career pathway looks like. It shows you different feeder roles, and if you click on one of those, it will show you different entry-level starting roles, what career pathways look like for mid-level, and so on. And then down on the bottom, it will show you average salary, how many jobs are open, etc. So let's go in and poke around in here a little bit so you can see a little bit more on the pathways. So, you know, here's an example. Let's say I'm really interested in starting in a feeder role in IT support. What this will tell me is there are 220,000 jobs in IT support open right now, and that's in the United States. Down here, it gives me an idea of the types of level of education that I would need in order to pursue that career. 50% of the jobs don't require a degree or less than a bachelor's degree. 45% do require a bachelor's degree, and it looks like about 5% require more than a bachelor's degree. So those are likely really specific kind of jobs. I look at the kind of job titles that are out there, different certifications that are required, and skills that I might need, and these are different skills that I might want to add if I don't have them. So I say, okay, I did the IT support thing. Maybe I did a couple of CompTIA exams, and now I'm ready to go into, oh, I don't know, how about a cybersecurity specialist role? That then shows me what my potential career trajectory might look like. What could I go in next when I want to move up in my career? It then shows you down on the bottom, okay, here's about the average salary for that type of role. Here's some common job titles. Now, NICE, that cyber education framework that I told you about, they've actually categorized the skills and the jobs that are done in cybersecurity in a way that you can kind of look at these. So for example, I'm really interested in analyzing. Well, I'm really interested in analyzing threat and warning analyst. That's what I want to be. So if I didn't know what that was, I could look in here to see what were the kinds of skills, knowledge, and abilities I would need in order to do that job. And on the right-hand side of this page, it also shows me those very specific tasks that I would be asked to do to demonstrate that I had those skills so that I could do that job. So it's really pretty cool. And you can just click around in here and see what it looks like so you could get a really good idea of what kind of cybersecurity career pathway that you were after. It's very cool. Okay, so now I'm going to switch from the CyberSeek website to the Credential Finder, which is the second organization I told you a little bit about. So Credential Finder, like I mentioned earlier, has all kinds of great stuff in the registry. And the reason I call it a registry is because it's categorized into all kinds of different things that you can find. So when you're looking at this one screen, you can see underneath of the search, I can search for credentials, I can look for organizations, I could look for assessments, I could look for learning opportunities, pathways, transfer values. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here. And these numbers up front tell you how many of these entries are in the registry right now. There's some new aspects of this registry that have been built recently, so there's not a lot of information in some of the components. So for example, when you see pathways, it says there's only 3 pathways in here. That's because that functionality has just recently become a thing that people can use, and individuals or organizations that have put their stuff in here just haven't published any yet. So there's only 3 of those in here. So that's really what the credential registry does, or the Credential Finder. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. You can see in here, this is just a quick, I did a quick search for anything that Southern New Hampshire University offers. So you can see in here, right now, there's an associate's degree in computer science that SNHU offers, and there's also an associate's in data analytics. There's a few more in here from SNHU. Not the entire catalog is published here. There's just a few select ones that I chose only because we wanted to test out how the registry worked. So if you wanted to go into this registry and look for like financial accounting, you won't find it. You'll just find a couple of the STEM programs because I actually am the one that put them in here. All right, so what we'll do is I'm going to take you on a grand adventure to the credential engine. All right, so if I go in here, I can, like I said before, I can look at credentials or organizations or assessments or learning opportunities. So just for fun, I'm going to go in and I'm going to look for organizations, and I'm going to type in Southern New Hampshire University because that is my favorite place. And when I type that in, it will show you, here's our organization. We're one organization, we're one sector, we have 10 credentials. And like I said, we don't publish all of our credentials in here. There's only 10 of them. I've got 23 learning opportunities in here, and there's 4 competency frameworks. So I'm really curious about SNHU. So I'm going to click on this and see if I can get a little bit more information. Gives me the lowdown on what SNU is, shows me some of the things that they offer. I'm really curious about these 10 credentials that they offer. So I'm going to click on that. And that's where the associate's degree, associates, and some of these have a whole lot more connections in here to lots of other things. And again, that's because Gwen was in here connecting pieces and parts together to see what that would look like, so we could actually build out different pathways. So as an example, I might want to look at, oh, how about a related learning opportunity? So if I click on that related learning opportunity, it immediately dropped down some of the courses that were part of the associate's degree in information technology. And if I were to click on one of these courses, oh, I don't know, let's pick one. How about this one right here? That will then take me to the course and tell me a little bit more information about that course and what it's plugged into and what kind of learning method it was and how long it takes to complete and all of those things. So it shows you lots of different connections as part of what's inside of it. Now there's one other thing that I wanted to show you, how I mentioned that at the beginning that pathways is a relatively new thing. So we're going to go look at the pathways that they have available. And there's only 3 of them. The first one is an example of how the University of North Texas created a visual pathway to show a learner how they could get a particular credential that's part of a degree program. So I'm going to show you that just so you can see how a traditional academic program could unfold in the land of pathways. So give it a second here. All right, so when I look down here, I can see that there's a class in oral participation and one in presentation and one in writing, and they're connected to all these different pieces over here on the right. So if I click on that, it tells me I need to take 2 out of those 4 to get into this next course. And if I wanted to get into the next level, it tells me I have to take 4 of those things, and you can kind of see how that pathway progresses. So this is a very traditional example of what a pathway would look like in the land of academia. Now, I also want to share with you the other 2, which I think are really interesting. So there's an organization called Education Design Labs. And what they have done is they have taken 21st century skills like problem solving, critical thinking, that kind of thing. And they've actually created these learning paths that you would go through and demonstrate that you have these skills. And when you finish a particular learning path, you can earn a digital badge. And I'll talk a little bit more about what badges are as I go along. But you can earn a digital badge that validates that you've actually demonstrated those skills in some way, shape, or form. So sorry, my phone's ringing over there. And what they did is they partnered with Goodwill Industries in San Antonio, because there's a ton of employees in San Antonio that are working at the Goodwill, and they wanted to be able to upskill them and cross-train them and provide a career pathway for them. So Ed Design Labs helped them put together these pathways. So I'm going to show you both of them because they're quite a bit different. So the first one shows you a pathway that just is really a skills booster. So say you're an entry-level employee, kid from high school who's just getting ready to go into the workforce, and your first job is at the Goodwill in San Antonio. And what they want folks to be able to do is be resilient. They want them to be creative problem solvers, and they want them to know how to collaborate. So a learner could go through this pathway, get certified with that skills booster, and now maybe they open an opportunity and get a job at the Goodwill. And then here's another example that they've done with eDesign Labs that shows you a bit more of a progressive pathway. So here you've got some specific skills that the learners are doing: identifying patterns, applying an iterative process, managing ambiguity, all of my favorite things to do. Before I can get to the next level, I have to do all 4 of these. Then once I finish those 4, I do the next 3. Once I finish those 3, I can go to the next level. And if I keep scrolling, eventually I land in this certificate plus that allows them to transfer it into an academic program that could then create a different trajectory for them. So that's really what Credential Finder can do. It connects all the different component pieces together, and they don't have to be connected with just one institution. So it doesn't have to be all of San Antonio's things and all of SNHU's things. The way this is set up, I can connect those 2 things together, and I could say, hey, people that went through this certificate plus with Goodwill Industries at San Antonio, I'm going to give you credit toward this certificate that lives at SNHU, and I could build those pathways so somebody could find them. So that's the coolest part about this. All right, so let's go back to the slide deck. All right. All right, so the 2 examples I shared, CyberSeek and Credential Finder, are really 2 great places to start thinking about open equitable pathways. And I'm specifically focusing tonight on cybersecurity. And there's all kinds of different pathways for different people. Today, I'm going to walk you through Sandra's journey. And it's an equitable pathway that really helps her achieve the goals that she wants to achieve, despite all kinds of different challenges. So here we go. Here's the scenario. Well, Sandra's in high school. One of her teachers sparks an interest with her in cybersecurity. And Sandra, who never really thought about college, nobody in her family ever went, really had no clue how she would ever be successful in a cybersecurity career. So I'm going to walk through a potential pathway for Sandra to get her where she dreams of getting to go. She wants to be a cybersecurity architect. She may or may not even really know what that is, but she's pretty sure she's interested now that her teacher has mentioned something to her. So back to Sandra. Here we are at the on-ramp. And this is a screenshot of what the Salesforce Trailhead badge is represented like within the Credential Finder. And I will click on it so I can actually show it to you and you can see it a little bit better. So while Sandra was in high school, one of her teachers introduced her to the Salesforce Trailhead badge pathways. She started with the data security badge. That badge taught her about control access to data using point and click security tools. She learned about control access. She learned about records. And then after she finished her first badge, she was really curious and she wanted to learn a little bit more. So she progressed to the Identity Basics module. And that made her want even more. And then from there, she went to get the User Authentication module, where she learned how to secure all kinds of different things with multi-factor authentication. So now she is like a cyber geek. And remember, she's still in high school. So she then decided that she was going to continue and finish the entire badge. So I'm going to click and show you what that looks like. So here's an example, and this is free, right? So learners can sign up for these free badge training opportunities, and they can earn these digital badges by proving that they have these skills and competencies. So it shows you basically, you finish this badge, and then you can get to the next badge, and then you can get to the next badge. And when you finish all of this work, you can actually qualify for this security specialist badge, which could be cashed in, depending upon where you go, for academic credit. It could be surfaced on your resume for a future employer to take a look at. So digital badges are really great, but just to give you an idea, it kind of walks you through and says, here's what you're going to be doing. These are the concepts that are going to be tested. This is the kind of work that you need to do. Here's the use case, blah, blah, blah. So you can explore this a little bit more on your own, but there's a bunch of different badges that live in the land of Salesforce. And this is one of those on-ramps that is an awesome on-ramp. Okay, back to the slide deck. All right, so here we are. Oh, let me click again. So this is a screen capture of opportunities offered by Ivy Tech Community College, which is a community college in Indiana. And SNHU has an articulation agreement with Ivy Tech Community College, which is one of the reasons why I'm using them as part of this example. So here we are at the transparency part of the open pathway. Once Sandra finished her security specialist badge, her teacher pointed her once again to the Credential Finder. And while she was there, she discovered that Ivy Tech Community College actually offered some free certifications through the school. And she realized if she finished those certifications, they would actually transfer into a degree program at Ivy Tech. So what she did is she actually went through and she completed those certifications at Ivy Tech, and then she transferred into the Ivy Tech Community College program. She finished her associate's degree in cybersecurity at Ivy Tech, and then she decided that she was going to use that articulation agreement into SNHU. So here's a person who otherwise probably would never have gone to college, but she was given the opportunity. She had an on-ramp. She knew exactly what she needed to do for the varying pieces and parts, and then it stacked into things along the way. So she earned her security badge through Salesforce Trailhead. She took the 2 free classes through Ivy Tech and got certified. She took all 3 of those, transferred and cashed them in as academic credit so she could do her associate's degree. When she finished her associate's degree, she wanted to keep going and got her bachelor's degree. So that's a perfect example of an open pathway. So what I want to show you is another example of how we could articulate different pathways into different things. So this is another example. Now keep in mind, this is not real. This is just a demo. This is something that Gwen built in a playground just to kind of explain what we have the opportunity to do. So let's say instead of going to Ivy Tech Community College to finish an associate's degree, Sandra really didn't want to do a full associate's degree. Instead, she really wanted a larger certificate from an academic institution that she could eventually plug into her degree program, but she needed something a little bigger than the Salesforce Trailhead badges and the 2 certifications from Ivy Tech. So what she did is she was like, well, I got the courses from Ivy Tech. Here's one of the certifications that I know is going to give me credit. And here's the other certification that I know is going to give me credit. And oh, cool. If I take the CompTIA Network Plus certification, I can complete that first learning pathway, which is ultimately going to get me to that cybersecurity, but I have one other pathway to complete. I already finished one of the classes that I needed, which is really cool. Or I could take a CompTIA Security Plus badge and finish the second pathway. And when I'm all done with those things, then I would have this verified digital credential from SNHU that verifies and validates that I've got those skills. So it's a really, really super cool way of connecting things together. And that's just an example of, you know, what an open educational pathway could look like. All right, so back to the slide deck. And I think that, yes, that click takes you to the screen that I clicked on in a different way. All right, so those were all the things that I showed you. So you saw CyberSeek, you saw Credential Finder, and then I showed you a demo of our Badger platform with an example of what a pathway would look like. And that's all I got for all of the different pathways. And I am more than happy to take questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, or at least stop my show.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn my heater off. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
Whew, it's getting warm in here. Okay, I'm good now.
Okay. So we have one question. CyberSeek looks incredible. Does anything like this exist for data science or other fields?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, things like this do exist. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is when you start thinking about data science and you break down the different pieces and parts of data science, right? One, you got to know some math. That's always good. Doing a little bit of statistics. In fact, SNHU has partnered with edX, and we've built a couple of fundamental on-ramps for people that might be interested in data science. So let me just do a quick Google search here. SNHUX. I'm just going to type Python because I know it's in here somewhere. So here's our, you come down here. We have actually these are called micro bachelor's degrees. We have one.
I'm sorry, Gwen, I stopped your screen share for you. I thought you were all done there.
Nope, I'll share again. Sorry about that. I did my, here we go. Tell me if you can see it. Can you see it now?
That's great, thank you.
Awesome, okay. So just so you know, what I did is I just did a Google search and I typed SNHUX space Python, and I was able to find this page right here. And this is a partnership that Southern New Hampshire University has with edX. And you can take these courses free. Now, if you want them validated, that could be cashed in for credit, you do have to pay. And the reason for that is the paid version of it actually gives you access to some technology tools and an assessment that's proctored so that we can make sure that we verified and validated those skills, and we don't just hand out credits because you're not getting them. So that's why the paid version is really about the exams and the additional stuff. But here's an example. So this is called a micro bachelor's, and right now we have 3 different micro bachelors. We have one in business analytics foundations, one in data management in Python and SQL, and one in financial accounting. So if I was interested in going into data science, I likely would do 2 of these micro bachelors. I would do the business analytics foundations, and then I would do the data management with Python. So here's what's really cool about these 2. They have one class that's shared between the 2 of them. So instead of having to take 4 classes, you only have to take 3, and you can earn both of those micro bachelors, and all 3 of those classes will transfer into multiple different associate's degrees at SNHU. So if I were to click on this, it will tell you the classes that are in it are scripting with Python and applied statistics with Python. And if you're really interested, you can see who one of the instructors is of the Python course. So if you're really interested in seeing me in cartoon fashion teaching Python, sign up for the free course and you can see Gwen Britton live as a cartoon character. So anyway, that's an example of how you can do something like that in data science. So I'm going to stop my share now.
Okay. We have another question. Somebody was asking specifically that they're already on a degree path. So how can they use credentials, stacking credentials when they get into a job, or how can it help them, land that job, add it to a LinkedIn profile? Yeah. How does that benefit them?
You know, it really depends on what the degree program is and the kind of credentials that you want to get. There's lots of different stuff out there and lots of different organizations that are offering credentials. It really just depends on what flavor. You know, you can also get digital credentials by taking certification exams, like the PMP exam, you know, provides a certification. It's just a matter of figuring out what flavor of a degree program you're in and what kind of a job you're looking for. You can find a lot of badges just doing search digital credentials accounting, if that's what your area is.
So another person wants to know, can you speak to the benefits of LinkedIn Learning?
Oh, yeah. I mean, LinkedIn Learning, it really depends on how deep of a dive you want to take. And it depends on what you're trying to learn. So I'll be perfectly honest with you. I use it all the time. And I typically will use it for bits and pieces of stuff that I need to learn that I don't know. So I may take an entire course or I may not take an entire course. I have taken a few of the entire courses and they are really, really good. And if they give you, you know, some of the digital badges. So let me talk about digital badges and then I'll refer it back to LinkedIn Learning. So there's really two kinds of digital badges. There's digital badges that are like merit badges. Like remember the chore chart that you had on the refrigerator and you earned a star if you did a chore? That's a merit badge. That's not the kind of badge that I'm talking about. The kind of badge that I'm talking about is an open digital badge. And what those open digital badges do is they're really a container for the acknowledgement of achievement, right? And so if you actually earn one of those digital badges, inside of the digital badge itself, it says this person has these skills and these competencies, here's how they learned them, and here's the organization that verified and validated that they have those competencies, and here's how they did it. So when you go through LinkedIn Learning, you can get a badge that acknowledges that you finished this class, but it may not be the same kind of a badge. It may not have as much value as, say, finishing a micro bachelor's that you paid to verify through edX, because that actually has an instructor in there grading your stuff and you're physically being, well, not physically, you're virtually being proctored by a person on a camera watching you take a test to make sure that you're the one that did that thing. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. That was a really long-winded answer, but.
Yeah. If you still want more details, just ask another question, please. So are there any discount vouchers for CompTIA certifications through Credential Finder?
Not through Credential Finder, but depending upon whether or not SNHU is a CompTIA member, so we can provide discount vouchers for students that are SNHU students to take those exams. So if you are an SNHU student and you want to take a certification through CompTIA, email me and I will get you a discounted voucher.
Okay. Can we make the slides available? Can you share them with me after? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Gwen will send them to me after, and after tomorrow, I'll send them out to everybody who was here.
Yeah.
And then we also have, is there an attribute to the pathways that informs about the aggregated cost of each pathway across institutions?
That's a really great question. One of the things that's beautiful about the Credential Finder is they continually add places inside of those objects to add more information. So there is a place for me to actually put in the cost of all the different things. If an organization hasn't done that, that data won't be surfaced. So if, for example, you went in to look at the stuff that I put into Credential Finder, I didn't put the price in there because I didn't know what it was, not because I didn't want to do it. So in some ways, yeah, if somebody puts a price in there, you should be able to see it, but not all of them are listed. Probably because they're like me, they were too lazy to go look it up and put it in there.
Okay. And we already answered other fields. Does anything like this exist for data science or other fields? So was that the other graphic that you put up already?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what recommended path is best if somebody wants to become a pen tester?
Oh, that's a really great question. There are multiple different paths to be a pen tester. You know, in fact, actually, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. CompTIA offers a pen test certification exam, so does EC Council. So when you start looking at those different trajectories, I will be honest with you, I love EC Council and I also like CompTIA, but one of the reasons why I like CompTIA is because it's not proprietary and it's data that you can apply to pretty much any technology that's out there because it's the overarching pieces and parts. EC Council is very much the same way, but they have a lot of specific tools that are hands-on that you use as you're going through to learn. So they're actually both good. In order to be a pen tester, you've got to know some other stuff ahead of time. In fact, I'll put a link in the chat for you guys instead of sharing my screen. But if you were to look at like the CompTIA certification pathway, that's what I'm looking up. And there are some really great images that they have in here. Let me see if this CompTIA career pathways. They have some really great images in here. Hold on just a second. I'm going to show you. I'll give you a link to one of the pictures that will. Let's see if this works. This is a beautiful one. Wait for it. I'm going to put it on the screen here. On this, not screen, in the chat. You guys can take a look at it here. So if you were to look at that, it shows you kind of what the career trajectory is. So it shows you if you wanted to be a pen tester, you would go through and do the foundational stuff, which actually teaches you about technology in general, A+, which teaches you about hardware and software, Network+, which really teaches you about, you know, the fundamentals of networking. And it also has some cloud stuff integrated into that. And then Security Plus teaches you how to, you know, wrap the onion around all of those technology things. And once you get past that security one, it kind of branches off and puts you into different categories of things, depending upon what you want to be when you grow up. So if you're really interested in working in servers, you could go the Server Plus trajectory. You could go into Linux and learn how to do a lot of that stuff in Linux, including how to, you know, secure a Linux system. And then there's also pen testing in there. So really, if you went through those fundamental 4, that's what I call them, you could go right into pen testing that way. The other beautiful thing about certifications like this is a lot of schools will align their foundational IT courses to these certification exams. We do it at SNHU. IT 200, 201, 212, and 253. Those are the 4 courses that line up with those first 4 certs. And then you'd be ready to go take the pen test after that. Well, you'd have to learn the stuff first, but yeah.
Another question, are badge requirements and definitions being standardized across institutions so value and credit can be equitably portable?
That's actually a really great question. So one of the things that I think is a weird thing to wrap your head around. So badges are not the same size and the same shape. A badge, in fact, could actually be the largest, it could be a doctorate. So I could give you a digital badge that acknowledges that you've achieved your doctorate in. This school over here may give a digital badge that acknowledges your achievement in this 1 credit. So they're not the same size and the same shape. However, when you expose the properties behind a digital badge, they have all of the same properties inside of there so that you can actually look and see what's contained in it. So an example would be, I'm trying to think, you could, in fact, actually look at what it looks like inside of a digital badge by looking at the JSON that's underneath of it. And it will show you the different properties that are in it. So it'll say, here's the badge, here's the person who issued the badge, here's the date it was issued. And in my world, it's worth, and I can put my value in there. I could say, you can cash this badge in for 3 credits at SNHU. So each institution will identify it, but we all have the same exact fields to fill out. So they may or may not be equal, but at least you can tell what they're worth based on the way those are set up.
Another question, should I take this instead of the degree I am working on currently? Current major is computer science with focus on data analytics with minor in math.
Oh, that is a very, very, very wonderful degree program. So of course, I'm not going to tell you to go anywhere else. What I'll tell you is you can get a lot of the stuff that's in your degree program in a different way and bring it back into your degree program, right? So if you are already in computer science, which by the way, that is near and dear to my heart because my background's in math and computer science. So yay you, whoever said that. But you have opportunities to take stuff in different places, looking to see what's going to transfer into SNHU, right? So if you were to go, and I can never remember where this website is. So for example, if you look up SNHU IT certifications, you will find a website that lists all of the different technical certifications that we offer credit for. So if you haven't taken that course and it's in your computer science program and you would rather go do it someplace else and then bring that back in as credit, you can. You can absolutely do that.
So is this something that somebody could be studying but also be doing the micro-credentials at the same time to not have to take that additional class, perhaps?
Perhaps, yeah. And the
Okay.
thing to keep in mind is anything that's not part of your academic program, your financial aid does not cover it. So if you decided you wanted to go do this thing at, oh, I don't even know, we have different partnerships with different organizations, but let's just say you did that thing on edX and you wanted to pay for that, you would have to pay for that out of pocket because it's not part of your SNHU program. It's a completely different vendor on a completely different platform. We built it and we offer it, but it's not an SNHU thing, it's an edX thing, which is weird to get used to, but yeah.
Same person asks, are things like Python credential from places like Real Python as a Python developer?
Possibly, you know, if we have not looked at it yet, typically we've looked at the ones where we've had more than like 3 students ask, unless we know something's big. It doesn't mean we won't take a look at it, but a lot of the ones that are not as well known, we probably have not looked at them yet. In the future, the goal would be to open it up to as many of those potential credentials as we possibly could. The thing that we will always, always, always do as an academic institution is verify and validate that those skills that somebody says you have, you actually really do have. And the reason for that is, wouldn't it be a travesty if you came to the table and said, hey, I did this thing on LinkedIn Learning that taught me Python, and then I put you in a higher level class that involved data structures and a bunch of stuff that you didn't learn in that LinkedIn Learning, and you were not successful. I would feel terrible for giving you credit for something that you didn't actually have because I set you up for failure. So I promise I'll never set you up for failure.
So somebody made a comment that they transferred in max courses already. So is there a cap on how much you can transfer in?
Okay. And that, yeah, the number of, I'm trying to think, in a bachelor's degree, I think you can transfer in 90 credits, which actually is pretty awesome, you know, if you can transfer in 90 credits. And there's reasons for that. And a lot of that has to do with accreditation standards and federal financial aid rules and that kind of stuff. So that stuff is beyond our ability to change, you know, unless I somehow went to the Department of Education and said, hey, we think you guys should change this. So some of that stuff we don't have any control over.
Yeah. And would you want to drop your email address in the chat because a couple people want it?
Sure.
Yeah. And another person asks, are SNU advisors up to date on this information, and are they able to help with any questions, or who is the best person / people that they can talk to about this after the webinar? Like how to use this to their advantage?
That's a really good question. I don't know if academic advisors are aware of all of the stuff that's available. What I can tell you is academic advisors are very familiar with the stuff that we've already pre-vetted for credit. You know, we have something that advisors can go look up. So if you come to the table and you have this certification, they can go look and see if we've given credit for it in the past. And if we have, they'll be able to say, oh yeah, we can go back and give you credit for this. If it's something that we've never done before, there's not a whole lot they can do with that other than, you know, save it for us and let us know that we had at least one learner that looked at it. And then we can actually go see if it's something that we could give credit for. Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome. So Glenn, thank you for sharing that. The academic advisor was aware of the AWS info available for credit when it was offered for free through.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So some do, some don't. I think it really depends on your major and what's available for credit in your major.
So somebody's taking a BA of cybersecurity with a concentration in data analytics, even though I prefer the network end, what job preferences and certification would be recommended to earn with the current degree path? So like what could sister with this?
What do you want to do? What do you want to be? It just really depends. You know, if you like the networking stuff, I would suggest doing CompTIA Network Plus. That one is always a win. If you're really liking networking stuff and securing networks, the Cisco certification suite is amazing. You know, it teaches you how to use routers and switches. It teaches you how to secure routers and switches. I mean, that's a really good one. And then in the land of data analytics, in fact, actually, CompTIA has just launched a couple of the data analytics certifications, and Google has some Grow with Google certifications as well in the IT space and in the data analytics space. So I would look at all of those.
Awesome. What is the professional value of micro degrees like Udacity, which are really challenging but don't have institutional credit value? This person is a math and data analytics double major at SNU, but they're considering this for afterwards.
Oh, that's also an excellent question. In fact, we do give transfer credit for some of those Udacity nano degrees. And I can't remember if they're at the undergraduate level or at the graduate level. So if you were to find that, I'm gonna find that page I told you about so I can plug that into the chat too. Oh, you know, it popped up in here because I search for it all the time. One would think I would bookmark it, right? But here we go. I'm going to put that in your chat as well so you can take a look at that. So if you click on that, I think the Udacity nano degrees are on there. It's in alphabetical order. So there are a few that we do give credit for. So the AI programming with Python nano degree, Android basics by Google nano degree, plus become an Android developer nano degree, intro to programming nano degree, front-end web developer, and become an iOS developer. Those are all, it looks to me like if they're undergrad degree, and they plug into mostly computer science.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
And Glenn's funny. Glenn says there might be LinkedIn learning on creating bookmarks. He.
Yeah, I think, Glenn, that's a good idea.
And Glenn actually just asked, he's more concerned with how this gets him a job rather than a degree.
Yeah.
So are there statistics available for how various micro stacks may
Yeah.
apply to future employment?
Well, so here's something I can tell you that's really, really interesting. There's been a pretty sizable paradigm shift in the land of academia and employment and the military. And there's lots of different organizations coming to the table because what happens is I could graduate from a school and here's my degree program. But what employers can't see are the actual skills and competencies that live underneath of that. So they might see, here's a description of a course and here's the learning outcomes, but they're not actually looking at it. Kind of, you know how I showed you that CyberSeek website and it showed you the knowledge, skills, ability, and the actual tasks you do. So when you start going through some of these micro-credentialed things, they will actually surface a badge that links back to those exact skills and competencies in a way that the learner can, or the employer can look at that and go, oh, okay, that's the exact skill and the thing I needed on my job posting. So the future fantasy of Gwen is this: wouldn't it be cool if, like in the movie Avatar, you know how you plug into the horse and then the horse can fly? So wouldn't it be cool if, as an academic institution, I could plug into somebody's HRM system, see what all their job postings are with all their skills and responsibilities, and link them into my degree programs so that you could surface this course and it would show you which job you qualified for at that employment agency or at that place of work? Wouldn't that be cool? So people are now starting to talk about things using the same vocabulary at the same level. So skills is the big word now that everybody is embracing. So eventually we're going to get there. That's my fantasy. So when that happens, I can retire.
There you go. We'll get everybody there.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Let me go through the chat. Oh, somebody did ask, they're getting their BA in psychology. So do you have any stacking credential opportunities for them?
That's a good question. But what I can tell you about a BA in psychology is that you've got some tremendous skills in the land of data science and research. And if I were doing a BA in psychology right now, because I think a lot of people that do psychology are a little surprised by the math they got to do and the hypothesizing and that kind of stuff, that is a great, great, great pathway to become a data scientist or a data analytics person. I'm not sure exactly which certifications you could do in there, but I would definitely focus on, learn some Python, learn some SQL, because that can only help you learn a little bit more stats, right? So you do intro to stats, but start learning more about regression, because that will help you when you're proving, theories, et cetera, in the land of psychology. So that's a really great degree, by the way, for that kind of a pathway.
All right. I think that's it. No, sorry, we just had one more question pop up.
Yeah.
So the paradigm shift is toward enabling employers to see the more detail at the skills and competencies that a learner has acquired from all the learning institutions to date.
Yes, that is true. And just for fun, a thing that is being worked on by lots of different people is something called a comprehensive learner record or a learner employment record. And people may have heard of that. And we're very familiar with having a healthcare record, right? I can log into Dartmouth Hitchcock and it tells me everything about everything, more than I actually even want to know. And wherever I go, I can get access to that data, and so can my doctor. So as we start building out these comprehensive learner records or learner employment records, you as the learner now own this digital wallet that you can put all your stuff in. So you could put in your transcripts, you could put in stuff in a portfolio you wanted to show somebody, you could show somebody that you volunteered at the local rescue, and now you know how to take care of dogs or whatever it is. And then I, as an academic institution, can put the stuff in there that you have earned through me, and that can also be in my digital wallet. And as a learner, you can expose the stuff you want somebody to see. So you could really customize different things with different employers. So you could have this record, share it with an employer, but only share this part because you're applying for this job. And over for this employer, I'm only showing this part because I'm applying for this job. So that's a thing that will eventually be a usable thing for people. So comprehensive learner records and learner employment records, something also fun to Google in your spare time.
It says, I'm employed in IT right now. Is there anything I can use from the process to get my employer interested in helping me become a better worker?
Well, tell them, yes, there's all kinds of stuff in the land of IT. It depends on what you want to do. Send me an email and I'll tell you.
Okay. And her email is in the chat. I just dropped it in there again because it got kind of squashed up top. So I think that's it, Gwen. I think, any other questions going once? How fast can you type?
I can type really fast. Oh, you didn't mean me.
I heard you typing. So you sent it to the panelists.
I sent what to the panelists?
Oh, my chat only goes to the panelists. Got it.
Got it.
Thanks, Glenn. It's a good thing Glenn was here, keeping us honest.
I know it.
There. Excuse me. I just dropped Gwen's email to panelists and attendees, so everybody has it now. Any other questions?
One last thing, just know I will respond to you, but maybe not until the weekend, only because I just know that I get up really early, so I'll try to answer in the morning, but if I don't, I promise you will hear from me by Monday.
There you go. All right, and if you have any other questions about the presentation or anything else that we're doing for Cybersecurity Month, you can drop me an email also. And thank you.
And stay safe.
Everybody. Yes, absolutely. Stay safe.
All right.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.